'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring. Well, the only person stirring right now is Dr. Jackie. And we got to talk about her apology and a little bit more. Okay. So I think in order to really discuss this, let's first take it back to the original apology. Now, this was done just the other day, right? We know that she made some comments about black women, allegedly crying wolf when it came to, wanting to go see their doctors and potentially get out of work. And you know how black women can be overly dramatic when it comes to their health care, and also as it relates to maternal issues and then maternal uh and how that comes into stark contrast with her position on maternal mortality and her conversation with Vice President Kamala Harris on the last episode of Married to Medicine. Just to kind of sum it up real quick. So I just want to read you guys this, and I want you guys to hear what she had to say in her own words right after. Now, note here, she says, recently a clip from a nearly 2-hour video was taken out of context to make it appear that I somehow take lightly what I have advocated for concerning the devastating problem facing the Black maternal health crisis. It has been my life's work to highlight and attempt to rectify the issues that devastatingly impact Black maternal mothers versus our counterparts. As a physician, I educate my patients every day to be their best health advocate. As we continue to face medical mistreatment, gaslighting, my intention with the broader conversation was to ensure patients enter their pregnancies armed with information and tools to effectively communicate their needs with their doctors to ensure a positive outcome. The reason I became an OBGYN is because growing up, I saw such a lack of diversity amongst medical professionals and was determined to be a part of the change. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow, I will continue to fight for the lives of Black mothers and babies. All right, so a lot of people had issues with this apology, mostly because they felt like she didn't really take accountability for the words that she said. And I think the first part being that saying that this clip was taken out of context to make it appear that she somehow takes it lightly. No, I feel like what is evident is that people were offended by the words that you said. That is really the bottom line. Okay. And it feeds into a stereotype about Black women who are your primary patients, right? So now that people have been literally going in about the lack of accountability for most people, I would say that's what they feel. She has now made a statement on her own Instagram, and we shall listen and hear what she has to say.
Holidays to you and yours. I'm taking a much needed pause to address comments that I made during a 2020 live interview with one of my castmates. First and most importantly, to Black women and mothers, including your friends, families, and the medical community who cares for you. Because my words left you hurt and feeling unsupported, I want you to know I hear you, I see you, I believe you, and I apologize from the bottom of my heart. I am brokenhearted over.
All right, let me stop it right here just real quick. All right, so the key element here is the apology for me. Okay. Now, granted, the apology isn't necessarily to me or necessarily for me to receive. However, just as someone who is sort of critically reviewing this from the space of, not only being a fan of Married to Medicine, but also a fan of Dr. Jackie's in general, um, it is to me the apology that is the first step in beginning to help people heal from something that you have done, which is something that failed to happen in that first piece. Now, it is up to you whether or not you choose to accept this apology. I can't make you do that, nor can Dr. Jackie. However, this is what needed to happen in the beginning because people were expressing their hurt.
This. The guilt and reality that I have hurt and offended people, especially Black women, and some of my own patients, pains me to my core. As I look back over the 2-hour video again and again, I admit that I used the wrong words and descriptions to properly convey my concerns regarding maternal mortality related to women of color.
All right. I stated this in my previous video. It is the admission of I didn't do this correctly, right? So it's the apology. It is the admission of this was not what I should have said. Okay. This is where we start to get into a statement that can make a difference, right? At least from the mechanics of apology and ownership.
But the fact is, we must do more because we are still dying more. If I could say it all over again,
Now, I also want to point out to you this. I stated in the video where we talked about this. I said what she should have said, or I said what she should do is sit on here and do it again. And here we are.
here's how I'd say it. When experiencing a health matter, keep a log of your concerns and symptoms so that you can provide them accurately to your physician. Have a buddy system, someone who can advocate for you when you're with a physician, especially when pregnant. Know that a second and third opinion is not just sometimes warranted, but necessary. I thank you for taking out time from your holiday to tune into my apology and my self-dedication to Black women and healthcare. I've been shaken and moved to be better.
All right. I like the fact that she took a moment to make this into an educational moment, not only for the audience, but for herself. And in the process, had the wherewithal to do some self reflection so that this is not only, like I said, a learning and teachable moment, that she can take an opportunity to turn something negative into something positive, where she can also simply say, I have learned from this and I will grow from this. Now, to me, based on the mechanics of what I feel like an apology should be, I'm here for it. I've read in the comments of on a couple of different sites that people felt like maybe she was reading something. Um, that's difficult for me to ascertain because I'm like, is she could be looking at the camera. There could be a teleprompter. I would think that the preference would be a sort of free flowing apology, but I'm not mad at a well thought out written apology as well. But again, the apology is not for me to accept. That is for patients, Black women, women of color, potential, patients, fans. I would wager to say the women out there who have were offended by this idea that Black women are overly dramatic and cry wolf when it comes to maternity issues. Um, so I could say, yeah, this is all good and it makes strides in the right directions, but ultimately it's up to you. But I can say at least that she has taken the time, the effort, and the even during the holidays to come out and say this, and that is something that I can actually rock with. And but again, it's not for me. I'm only here to tell you guys what it is. It's up to you guys, how you choose to receive it. But I do believe that she will do the work moving forward to continue to try to make this right. I feel that in my spirit. Let me know what you guys think. I want to talk to you guys really quickly also about another real quick thing that I found interesting. And I know we haven't really talked a lot about Potomac in the news, mostly because I feel like for a lot of us, we are very confused by Potomac at this moment, especially the Wendy and Nneka of it all. And this interview, I think, with Page Six, featured on the Bravo Shade Room, definitely goes a long way towards clarifying or at least helping me understand some of the background about what's been going on, at least from Nneka's perspective. Now, she says, as the headline reads, that she believes that she and Wendy would have been stronger together as two Nigerians and that they could have been a great duo and a pair to show their culture. Yes, that's what we were wanting. Okay. Uh, as that good Phaedra is going to say in the next episode of Married to Medicine, no ish Sherlock. Okay. But or did she say it last week? No, it was last week. It was last week's episode. But here's some when I talk about these stories, I always look for things that we haven't necessarily discussed or a new development in what we have already known. So for me, a little bit of this is clarification, and I want to see if I can clarify it for you and if it makes any difference for you. Because Nneka is really alleging that there was a takedown attempt that was being led by Wendy, her sister, um, to bring Lebe on the show to embarrass her. So what she says is there were 3 phone calls. For those of you guys who, like me, have been a little bit confused by this, the first was Wendy, I guess, and it was Wendy's sister and calling Lebe, and Wendy joins in on the line, according to Nneka. Again, allegedly, right? And in this conversation, it was basically that I guess there was this thought that Nneka was coming on the show, and there was allegedly maybe some talk about whether or not Nneka said she knew her, and whether or not maybe Nneka was going to try to be some threat to Wendy on the show, because Nneka here also alleges that she and the cast just feel like Wendy did not want another Nigerian woman on the show. However, in this conversation with Lebe, allegedly Wendy and Ivy were trying to, I guess, get Lebe to come onto the show so that they could embarrass Nneka. How they would do that, I really don't know. She really doesn't go into the takedown plot of it all, like the mechanics, but she does indicate that there was a takedown attempt. Okay. Now, it's interesting that there's a takedown attempt on somebody that hasn't even been introduced yet, but here we are. So anyway, the second call was Levy, I guess, calling back to understand why they were trying to do this, why they were trying to set up Nneka. And then the third call was, I'm assuming, I'm trying to get this correct because I can't necessarily play the entire thing, because it is the property of Page Six, and to do that on YouTube it could be in potential violation because they could have this interview up on their page. But to sum it up, was this call, I guess, wherein Wendy's mom was going to be submitting, Nneka's name to or did submit the name to allegedly submitted her name to the shrine, which is, for her interpretation, means that it is to wish death and destruction upon her. Okay. So Nneka, when asked if she would be willing to forgive Wendy's mom if she ever chose to say I'm sorry, which I know she will, especially after being called a witch, you know, Nneka, for her, she indicates that there's a lot of fear there. There's a lot of fear in her heart. Okay. She has been struck by fear at Wendy's mama allegedly submitting her name to the shrine, which, according to Nneka, is indicative of a wish of death and destruction. Okay. All right. Hopefully, I've cleared any of the misunderstandings up. The question is, do you care? Okay. And I do not mean that in a facetious way, but I mean that in a way that this storyline has been so convoluted from the inception that I think several or a lot of the audience I think a lot of us are just kind of like, yeah, player. I'm kind of good on it. You know what I'm saying? I'm good on it, and because I ain't understand it from the get go. Y'all should have brought in Lebe at this point. I mean, for real. That way, at least you could have got some camera time for the BBL. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's justice for Lebe. Justice for Lebe. She got a whole BBL, and we ain't seen it. Okay. But according to the messages, the BBL was for the husband. So I guess maybe the BBL was, the BBL was BBLing. Okay. For who it was supposed to BBL for. We didn't get to see the BBL unless you follow Levy on the internet. But I'm not doing that. Um, so yes, a little bit of clarification on that whole situation. Let me know what your thoughts are. How do you feel about Dr. Jackie's apology? I'm gonna give her, for me, the grace of, it's the holidays. I feel like she has been affected by this, and I feel like moving forward, she'll be a lot more careful with her actions and her words. But what do you think? I have to leave that into your hands in the comment section down below. It's the holidays. I just want you guys to be safe out there. I know that people are still doing some last minute Christmas shopping, so definitely please be safe. Be on the lookout for our Love and Marriage Huntsville recap video, baby, because we got a lot to discuss. Okay, and yes, we are pulling in Miss Quad. Miss Quad, she gone, she gone. Or is she? Hmm. And we're going to talk a little bit about the parallels between Kiki and Quad. With that being said, I will catch you all in the next video.